Hello everyone, I'm Hideaki Hata, an associate professor at Shinshu University in Nagano, Japan. This is a collaborative study with Laura, Takashi, and Christoph titled Same File, Different Changes, the Potential of Meta-Maintenance on GitHub. In this study, we propose the concept of meta-maintenance. Each circle in this figure represents a software development project. Each project is maintained independently, but may have similar assets and challenges. Suppose a good idea or solution is introduced in one project. If we can detect it and communicate it to other projects, we may be able to solve the issues of many projects at once, such as vulnerabilities, performance, and technical debt. In this way, we propose an approach to maintain the entire software ecosystem by extracting and distributing useful ideas in a software ecosystem that includes multiple projects. We call this approach meta-maintenance. In this study, we focus on group of projects that have files with the same content and investigated the feasibility of meta-maintenance in terms of whether a potentially useful change made to a single file can help maintain that file in other projects. To explore the potential for meta-maintenance of modern software projects on GitHub, we conducted an exploratory study with a quantitative analysis to establish the prevalence of the same files in multiple software repositories, qualitative analysis to determine the relationships among repositories with the common files, the types of the same files, and main drivers for changes to the same files, and a survey for developer feedback. Due to time constraint, the part about the uniqueness of evolution within the same file is omitted. To pursue the feasibility of meta-maintenance, we collected a large amount of software development repositories on GitHub that have been actively developed and written in 7 common programming languages, including C, C++, Java, JavaScript, Python, PHP, and Ruby. We analyzed only source files with a file extension shown in this table. Then this is the first result. We revealed that sharing the same files is common. We found that in more than 70% of the studied repositories, there's at least one file which also exists in another repository. For the qualitative analysis, we conducted a stratified sampling. We hypothesized that the size of the project groups containing the same file is a particularly important criterion for understanding the characteristics and evolutionary patterns of such files. Based on visual inspection of the plot in this figure, we divided project groups into 3 categories, that is, that are common, sometimes, and rare. We randomly sampled a statistically representative number of project groups from each category and excluded projects of little interest and then conducted qualitative analysis. For repositories in project groups, we investigated the relationship between repositories in a project group, that is, whether there are connections between repositories. Such connections arise mainly from forking. We distinguished each repository in our sample into related or non-related. Repositories in the common category tend to not be related. In many cases, they are different repositories using the same library. On the other hand, repositories in the sometimes and rare categories tend to be related. That means those projects are forked projects. For types of the same files, we manually annotated the same files in our sample. We revealed that the same files in the common category are often libraries, where the same files from the sometimes and rare categories tend to contain utility functionality. The jQuery is a representative example of a library. Configuration files are less frequent as the same files, and most appear in the common category. For changes for the same files, we manually investigated the commit history of the same files in our sample to characterize the set of changes that are being applied to them. Our annotation revealed 5 categories, that is, reference to a known origin, library update, project-specific change, tangled update, and other. As seen in this slide, many of the changes were referenced to known origins or library updates. But there are a significant number of project-specific changes that could be useful for meta-maintenance, especially in the common and the rare categories. To find meta-maintenance opportunities, we manually search project-specific changes in project groups. That is, we identify commits that appear only in single repositories. 5 cases were selected where the changes were neither too large nor too complex. The survey was distributed in forums, issues, or emails for the corresponding project. We received 3 responses and noticed that due to specificity of the files, only the core contributors of the project responded in all cases. In the first case, the project maintained an old version of jQuery, and we presented a change to the same version that was in another project. The respondent answered that the change was mainly interesting for security reasons and gave us this detailed comment. In the second case, we presented a fork project with a change in another fork project. We got a response from a code developer that we are not interested in another fork with poorly outdated code or code that conflict with other changes, which point out important future work to make meta-maintenance a reality. In the third case, we observed a local change which fixed typos of the zlib library in one repository. The survey was completed by the author of zlib. Although the developer was not interested in the suggested typo fix, he described the potential of applying commits from other repositories as this comment. We learned from developers that supporting changes related to security and performance could be a promising use case for meta-maintenance and is desired by developers. Our responses also point out future work to further understand the nature of relationship between repositories. In this study, we have established the state-of-the-art practice for investigating what kind of meta-maintenance is effective under what condition. There are several open challenges to fully realize the potential of meta-maintenance. For example, more programming languages, different types of files should be investigated, and extending the analysis to examine the evolution of different granularities, such as file set and core fragment, should be interesting, and automating analysis to identify useful changes could scale the analysis, and system development for meta-maintenance should be promising. Our research artwork is now publicly available. Thank you for listening.
Okay, it seems we are live. Welcome, good morning, good evening, good night to everybody. Welcome to this session, handling ecosystems of forked projects. Sorry. So I'm Claudia Ayala from the Technical University of Catalunya in Spain. I am the session chair of this session, where we will watch the videos and the questions and answer sessions of 3 very interesting papers. So we will start with the first one, the one that you just watched the video, that is called Same File, Different Changes, the Potential of Meta Maintenance on GitHub. We have here the author, so I'm glad to present Hideaki Hata, that will reply all the questions. So I see here in the chat that we already have some questions. Yeah, so here we have Hridesh. I don't know if I am pronouncing well, but says or questions. In your study, did you remove explicitly specified forks? Also, applied work has found that they are project clones that are not explicitly linked using the fork mechanisms. Did you remove those?
Actually, answer is the first question is yes. I removed explicit forks by using information of GS but yeah, it will know. So not an explicit clone. Of course, we cannot remove those things. Then there just to be some clone forks in our data set. So it could be kind of noise in our data set. So yeah, I found some forks in our data set, but yeah, I think it's not big problem, I think. Because those forks, whether it's explicit or not explicit, those are mostly closely related to each other. So there are not so many interesting changes. Then yeah, we don't find any kind of interesting changes from there. Yeah, that's the answer.
Okay. So, well, I suppose that this it doesn't affect, let's say, the results of the study, because as you say, they are not explicitly linked. And here we have another question. Have you distinguished between changes that are left behind? I mean, forked repos that are not used somewhere else, but has changed that had not been pushed back? And active or hard forks, which are actually projects maintained in parallel with the original repo. It would be nice to understand if the changes differ somehow.
Yeah, it's a kind of complex question, difficult question. So we try to not exclude inactive project. So those projects not active, not maintained well. So we don't have those changes in our dataset analysis. But yeah, it's difficult. I think I can understand those things. It should be interesting if we could understand those kind of details. But yeah, so answer is we haven't checked those details. We tried to exclude inactive project, but there could those kind of difficult situation. Yeah, actually in our there are many different kind of folks, similar project, those things. So yeah.
Okay, thank you. Well, you have some here congratulating you for your work. We have a question from Said. You have worked on 7 different programming languages to explore the potential of meta maintenance. My question is, did you find any correlation among them, or they perform independently? I mean, did you consider change category, refactoring, adding new module, etc. in development?
So the first question, programming specific kind of changes. I found some those program specific changes, especially for example C. most projects related to Linux kernel, then JavaScript. I found many library like jQuery. Those, so there are some typical kind of project for specific languages. Then for a change category, yes, I got similar review comment. No, this is also interesting. Change category, or of course, understanding changes is a challenge in this study, kind of this research. But for now, we haven't worked on such details. Yeah, this could be, I think, an open challenge.
Yeah,
very interesting. I'm also interested in working on this analysis. Thank you.
Yeah, actually, with the data you have, probably you didn't look at these things at these points because you were not looking for that. But now that they are raising, let's say, the issues, you can maybe take them into account and to assess the data you have. Here we have another question from Eleni Constantino. One implicit assumption seems to be that the changes of other projects are always beneficial. It will be interesting to hear your opinion on the quality effect of these changes. What if they just introduce bugs, for instance?
I think this is, considering the result of our survey, for example, one project said that those changes from other projects is not beneficial for themselves. Yeah, actually, some developers say that. Of course, it could be the potential problem of quality, and also the developer says that maintain changes from others is always troublesome. So not always beneficial. So I think most promising kind of change type will be kind of security or performance. Those more clearly. I think.
Well, I think that it is probably that the approach of having this meta maintenance is not always beneficial. It could be also non-beneficial, but probably you can also try to look at these changes that are just looking or introducing bugs for avoiding them. Probably is the other way around. I mean, to use this meta maintenance for trying to put forward the beneficial things. I mean, and to try to avoid the probably this could be another vision of the approach.
Yeah, thank you.
And here we have another question that is: did you analyze developers' migration or moves as well? I mean, are files maintained in different forks by the same developers?
That's interesting. Human aspect. I'm also interested in that topic. But in this work, we haven't worked on this. Should be interesting. Igor, let's work together.
Okay. Yes, actually, you have seen that there are a lot of questions and things related to your work, and they have raised some open, let's say, issues and benefits that are related to your approach. So I invite the audience, because probably we will be running out of time, to continue the discussion in the discussion room that we will be moved after this session. If you want to make some other questions to Hideaki, just join with him. It has been a pleasure to be here with you and to share all the knowledge that Hideaki shared with us with the paper. So thank you very much. We will move in some seconds, I say. Thank you to the audience. Let's wait to be moved and join Hideki for this session. Thank you.
Thank you very much.